Let's start with a scene that would get your parents arrested today. It is 1982. You are 10 years old. You are miles from home on a bike with bad brakes. You are not wearing a helmet. You have no water bottle. You have no GPS tracker. You are thirsty, so you drink from a garden hose behind a stranger's house. It tastes like warm rubber and rusty pennies. You don't text your mom. You don't check in. You simply vanish. The only rule is come back when the streetlights turn on. By modern standards, this is child endangerment. But to you, it was just Tuesday. You lived in a world with sharp edges, and because nobody was watching, you learned the most dangerous lesson of all. You can survive alone. People call you the slacker generation. They call you the forgotten middle child. But those labels are lazy. They miss the gritty reality of your mind. You aren't just the bridge between boomers and millennials. You are the last feral generation. You were the final group of humans raised in the wild. You were not tamed by algorithms. You were not protected by helicopter parents. This wild upbringing didn't just make you tough. It rewired your brain. It created a psychological profile defined by adaptive resilience. You learned to regulate yourself in a vacuum, but that skill came with a cost. You wear a heavy armor that people mistake for coldness. Today, we are decoding that armor. This is the psychology of the generation that raised themselves. To understand your mind, we must look at the empty house. You were the first generation of latchkey kids on a massive scale. Remember the sensory experience of 3:30 p.m.? The metal key clicks in the lock. It is the loudest sound in the world. You step inside. The house is silent. The air is still and smells like dust. No greeting, no snack waiting on the table, just the low hum of the refrigerator. Psychologists call this benign neglect. It wasn't abuse, but it was distant. In this silence, your brain developed a high internal locus of control. Modern kids have a consultative life. If they have a problem, they ask Siri, text mom, or Google it. But you had an executive life. Hungry? You cook. Scared? You lock the door. Bored? You stare at the wall until you invent a game. You learned that comfort is not a right. It is something you make. This changed your dopamine pathways. You don't feel good when you get praise. You feel good when you survive the day without the house burning down. This is why you hate micromanagement at work. To a feral child, supervision feels like a cage. The empty house taught you self-reliance, but the outside world taught you not to trust. You grew up watching institutions crumble. You saw the Space Shuttle Challenger explode on live TV. It shattered the myth of technology in seconds. You saw divorce rates skyrocket. It taught you that forever was just a marketing slogan. You lived with the Cold War. You did drills under wooden desks pretending plywood could stop a nuclear bomb. This environment created your famous trait, irony. The world calls it the whatever attitude, but let's reframe that. It isn't laziness. It is a survival mechanism called defensive pessimism. You learned to keep your expectations low. Why? So disappointment couldn't hurt you. You treated earnestness with suspicion. In your experience, people who promised the most delivered the least. So you built a shield of sarcasm. You roll your eyes not because you don't care. You roll your eyes because caring too much is dangerous. You are the generation that checks for the exit sign when you enter a room, not because you want to leave, but because you know the building might catch fire and no one is coming to save you. Let's talk about a cognitive superpower you possess that is rapidly going extinct. You are the only living generation that is psychologically bilingual. You spent your formative years in a purely analog world, a world of physical friction. You know the tactile snap of a plastic cassette case. You know the smell of decaying paper in a library card catalog. You know the patience required to dial a rotary phone and wait for the mechanical click whir of the return. But then, right as you hit adulthood, the digital revolution arrived, and unlike the generations before you who resisted it, or the generations after you who were drowning in it, you mastered it. This created a brain structure defined by cognitive ambidexterity. You can code a website, but you can also read a paper map when the GPS fails. You can navigate a Zoom call, but you also understand the nuance of a handshake that a screen can never convey. While Gen Z treats the internet as oxygen, invisible and essential, and boomers often treat it as a foreign language, you treat it as a tool, a hammer. You pick it up to do a job, and you are capable of putting it down. This gives you a deep focus capability that is vanishing from the human species. You remember what it's like to be unreachable. You remember the luxury of boredom. And because of that, you are the designated translator in every workplace, bridging the gap between the people who print their emails and the people who don't know how to use a postage stamp. However, being the most capable person in the room has a dark side. We need to reframe your reliability not as a virtue, but as a survival mechanism that has turned against you. Welcome to the competence trap. Because you were the latchkey kid who fixed your own bike chain and cooked your own dinner, you trained the world to expect that you need zero maintenance. You became the low-maintenance employee, the low-maintenance partner, the low-maintenance child. And society rewards high competence with one thing: more work. Psychologists often call you the sandwich generation, squeezed between aging parents and growing children. But let's use a more accurate metaphor. You are the load-bearing wall. You are managing your parents' decline, decoding Medicare, handling doctors, absorbing their fear of death. Simultaneously, you are managing your children's anxiety, navigating a digital world that makes them fragile in ways you never were. You are the emotional logistics manager for everyone. And why are you drowning? Because of that latchkey wiring. You don't ask for help. Why would you? In 1978, help wasn't coming, so you learned to swallow the panic and just handle it. You are carrying the weight of the world because you mistakenly believe that putting it down means you have failed. This leads to the most dangerous part of your psychology: high-functioning burnout. You live in a world that is obsessed with sharing. Millennials and Gen Z process their trauma publicly. They post crying selfies. They write long threads about their anxiety. But you view vulnerability as a leak in the hull of a ship. You were trained that feelings are private and complaining is useless. So you perform stoicism. You wake up, you drink the coffee, you do the job, you handle the crisis. You say, "I'm fine," but your body keeps the score. You feel it in the clenched jaw when you try to sleep at 2 a.m. You feel it in the tightness of your chest during the silent commute home. You are not fine. You are hollowed out. But because you don't collapse, because you don't scream, nobody notices. You are drowning in plain sight, waiting for permission to stop being strong. But here is the hard truth. That permission will never come from the outside. You have to give it to yourself. And this is where the story changes. Psychologists call it the midlife transition, but for Gen X, it is a sovereign pivot. Something happens when you hit your 50s. The ambition to climb the corporate ladder starts to fade. The desire to impress people you don't like evaporates. You begin to crave the one thing you had in 1982: autonomy. You stop caring about being cool or relevant. You start caring about what is real. You might quit the high-paying job to start a small business. You might move to the woods. You might just stop answering the phone after 6 p.m. This isn't a crisis. It is a return to form. You are remembering the feral kid who drank from the hose. You are realizing that the game you have been playing for 30 years was rigged, and you are finally brave enough to walk off the field. You are trading success for sanity. So the next time you feel invisible, remember this. Invisibility is a superpower. You are the generation that holds the world together while everyone else argues about it. You are the bridge between the analog past and the digital future. Bridges get walked on. Bridges carry heavy loads. Bridges are silent. But without the bridge, everything collapses. You are the last humans who know how to survive without an audience. You are the last ones who know the sound of silence. Do not let the world make you soft. Do not let them convince you that your resilience is a trauma response. It is a gift. Wear your scars like medals. You earned them. If you recognized yourself in this video, please hit the like button. And if you want more deep dives like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.